Welcome back. Now, President-elect William Ruto anchored his State House race campaigns on the platform of appealing to the church in what he termed as God and the people, a move that constantly put him on the spot with opponents as some of his pronouncements received harsh criticism. He was at some point branded the high priest of corruption, as his political rivals questioned why he regularly hosted church delegations and his source of generous donations. His political enemies accuse him of purporting to be the holier-than-thou, but his presidential win has now raised questions on whether his close association with the church propelled him to the presidency. Our political affairs reporter Vincent Odor looks into the matter.
President-elect William Ruto has for a while presented himself as a Christian, largely associating not only himself but also his political campaigns to believe in God.
Harambe!
For the past 3 years into the just concluded 2022 election, Ruto has been big in attending church services, quoting various scriptures. Besides taking part in prayers, when it came to giving offerings, he didn't disappoint, since he would always give huge financial contributions.
Pia shilingi milioni moja.
Whenever he would be invited at the pulpit, he positioned himself as a staunch Christian and tailored his messages in line with the good book, the Bible.
Walihubiri mambo mengi ya ukabila na chuki, lakini Mungu ametufanya tukafanya kazi ya uchaguzi kwa amani na Mungu ametupatia ushindi.
At times, in the church, he became emotional too, exposing his human side and his belief in the Word of God.
It is okay, Mheshimiwa, you don't say anything today.
Political analyst Mark Bichache argues that Ruto's recent presidential win has now put a spot on the significance of the church factor when seeking the presidential seat in Kenya.
Conservative thought is the ideology that all leadership is chosen by God, and therefore being someone who's God chosen, the masses feel like they have to support you. And Kenya is an 80% Christian country, but more than that, we've got a lot of very key and focused followers of certain religious leaders, and once they hear that someone has been chosen by God, then they will follow that person.
Political analyst Martin Olo agrees with Bichache that the degree of the association of the two leading presidential candidates, William Ruto and Raila Odinga of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, with the church, had a great impact on their numbers.
Ruto has managed to present himself as a Christian, and the churches have embraced him as a Christian. On the other hand, Ruto has managed to paint Baba as anti-Christian. He believes in animism, he consults mediums, and so on. And people, the Christians, have believed that narrative. Has Raila helped himself by presenting a different narrative? Perhaps not. His relationship with the church is an on and off relationship. We see Ruto in church all the time, we see him doing something with churches all the time, and that helps the church to affirm him.
Women are the biggest attendees of church, especially in central Kenya. Women are also the ones who are likely to believe a prophecy. So the prophecies they received really helped William Ruto in becoming president. Secondly, he was there giving donations to church, giving alms to church. And that, of course, made him look like the kind of person who's a believer. So did it help him? Yes, it did. And I'll tell you why. It is because in central Kenya, many of the people who voted for him were either young who believed in the hustler narrative, or women who were praying for him, who had shed tears for him and Uhuru in 2013.
So for the first time in this country, the evangelical churches, the Protestant churches, were able to rally their supporters behind a candidate, whether the independents in Central or independents in Rift Valley.
Bishop Dr. Geoffrey Njuguna, who is a scholar in leadership and gospel ministry, argues one who is seeking votes must tread carefully with the church, even as Archbishop Martin Kivuva questions whether it is the business of the church to propel anybody to the presidency.
In this country, anybody who would want to aspire for anything, please do not say anything that intimidates the church. Okay? Don't say anything that intimidates the church or makes the church feel like if you had the powers, you can interfere with the liberties and the freedoms. Where it seemed that one side was sounding like not friendly to the church, if you know what I mean, without details. But the other one was sounding the fact that they are giving, the fact that they are visiting, the fact they are in charge. The influence that the church had on this vote on the other side was the fact that here was a person who had associated with the church for a long time.
Ours was not to propel anyone. Ours is to create an enabling environment for people to do politics and people to choose or elect or vote in peace.
William Samuel Ruto, our president-elect, who is now going to be the 5th president, the fact that he has chosen to honor God, there's a degree in which God is the one who gives leadership. Let's not cheat each other. Unless God himself endorses you, there's a degree in which, if no matter how hard you try, it may not work. And especially now, you and I have been in this country. We have, do you know, the only way the deputy president, who is now president-elect, would win this election, it had to be God. Because you know, and I know, it's like he was going against what? Against every, it's like there was a concerted effort to say, no, not this one. And they were very, very bold. You know that.
2 weeks before the election, Raila Odinga was in trouble by criticizing Christianity and saying that it's not the only religion. And you saw a lot of pushback from Christians.
There is a feeling that the deputy president managed to leverage on the current political landscape and Christianity.
President-elect's wife has distinguished herself as really a prayerful person. She runs a chaplaincy around her husband's official residence. So a combination of Rachel, a prayerful wife, and Ruto, who confesses to be a Christian and has convinced most churches in this country to support him.
Politicians are very, very key because all the policies that are done in this country are discussion that takes place in the National Assembly, laws and policies. And therefore, we would desire that the influence of the church can be felt within the policy making. Do you know if chapter 6 of the Constitution, I know that people who introduced that chapter are Christians.
They say the church should be the moral compass of the society as society grapples with what is right or wrong, even as the process of formulating and implementing laws and policies make the church and politics inseparable. Vincent Odur, NTV, Nairobi.
Quite a reflective piece by